What do we do with a purported acceptance? Something that looks like an acceptance but may not actually be an acceptance. Starting with this idea of a counteroffer. Article 19 of the CISG says a reply to an offer which looks like an acceptance but contains additions or limitations or other modifications is in fact a rejection of the offer and a new offer. So a counteroffer is always a rejection plus a new offer. So a reply that is an acceptance. I offer to sell you these toolkits for $50 each, and you say that's too much. I will give you $45 each. That is a rejection of my offer and a new offer from you. You have become the offeror. I have become the offeree. Remember, when an offer is rejected, that offer no longer exists. Meaning if I say, no, I will not sell you the toolkits for $45, you cannot simply say, okay, I will pay you $50, because you have rejected the offer in making your counteroffer. Now, sometimes you may have a situation where it sounds like an acceptance. Yes, I accept your offer, but it contains additional or different terms. If those different or additional terms do not materially alter the terms of the offer, then it is an acceptance, unless the offeror objects to the change. However, this only applies if the different terms do not materially alter the terms of the offer. Now, under the common law, if there is any divergence between the offer terms and the acceptance terms, then no contract exists. Under the common law, acceptance must exactly mirror the offer. Otherwise, it's a counteroffer. A possibility then that a contract does not exist. The UCC has a much broader rule. Under the UCC, there's much more latitude as to the formation of a contract, saying that if there is a divergence between the terms, those terms become part of the contract unless there is notice made, at which point the contract is formed according to the original terms. You don't have to know this for your test. You don't have to know the common law rule. You need to know the CISG rule, which is somewhere in the middle. Under the CISG, an acceptance containing new terms that do not materially alter the terms of the offer become a part of the contract, unless there is an objection. However, there is this question of material alteration. And under the CISG, material alteration includes a number of things relating to price, or payment, or quality, or quantity, or delivery, or dispute settlement. If I say yes, but instead of accepting your offer, choice of form and clause, I give you a different choice of form clause, that means there is no contract. What this means in a practical sense is that generally, under the CISG, it resembles the common law rule much more than the UCC rule. There is no contract form if any of those terms, price, payment, quality, quantity, delivery, or dispute settlement, if there is a difference between those. And so look for that kind of question on your test where there is a offer to sell dresses for a certain price. And you say, yes, I accept your offer, but I only want red dresses. That is a rejection of the original offer and a counteroffer because you have changed the terms of the quality of the dress or the quantity of the dress, any of those things. Now this leads to a problem that's commonly known as the battle of the forms. Because businesses don't create contracts from scratch usually. Instead they use pre-appointed forms or templates to initiate an offer or to respond to an offer. And these forms usually include a blank for the particular negotiated terms. If the acceptance contains terms that materially alter the terms of the transaction, and again, under the CISG, that's a very broad understanding, the acceptance is a rejection and a new offer. It's a counteroffer. If the terms do not constitute material alteration, then a contract is formed with the additional terms unless the offeror objects. If the offeror objects, there is no contract. Under the UCC, there would be a contract. Under the CISG, there's not a contract. So oftentimes we see pre-printed forms or templates that are made up in advance that may have different terms. One party's offer form may include a provision for a choice of forum in the United States. The acceptance form by the other party, by the offeree, may include a provision for arbitration in Switzerland. That's a material alteration, therefore there is no contract. Let's talk a little bit about the common forms that are used in international sales. First is what we call the pro forma invoice. Now you're probably aware of what an invoice means. An invoice usually is a demand for payment. It's a bill. In the international context, however, a pro forma invoice is a document that serves essentially as an offer. It's a very common method of offering goods for a foreign buyer. It's a document that looks like an invoice but is not an invoice. What it says is if we enter into this agreement, then here are going to be the terms and conditions of that agreement. Here's going to be the cost of those items. Here's how the items are going to be sent. So the pro forma invoice, and I have examples of all of these on Canvas. In response to the pro forma invoice sent by the seller, the buyer will generally prepare what's called a purchase order. And a purchase order is a commercial document issued by the buyer to the seller that indicates the types, the quantities, the agreed prices for the products and services which the seller will then provide to the buyer. The purchase order may contain much different language than the pro forma invoice, in which case the purchase order is a new offer and a rejection of the pro forma invoice that was sent by the seller. The seller will then often draft an order confirmation, setting out terms and conditions to the order as reflected in the purchase order. Of course, again, these confirmations can often include language that is different from that of the purchase order, which then means there may not be a contract after all. So in conclusion, what did we learn today? We talked about the general requirements for a valid contract. We talked about a number of contract formation issues. And then we talked about offer and acceptance according to the CISG. If you have any questions about any of that, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.